short, rapidly spinning blades so they can be seen and avoided.
Thank you very much. Mr. Resor, how has the cost-benefit dynamic changed over the past few years with respect to solar energy, and how much more efficient is the technology nowadays? And if you could comment, you know, my state happens to be Ohio, and we used to hear that, you know, states like Ohio and the Midwest more challenging when it came to solar as compared to Arizona, right, California, et cetera. Could you touch on that as well?
Sure. Generally, the cost benefit is improving because you've got two major variables. One is the cost of the equipment that you need for a solar system is coming down. Secondly, utility electricity rates are generally going up, and I think there's a very good study put out recently by the Department of Energy that looks at the country state by state and projects ahead as I think they used the figure about 4.7% per annum increase in electric rates. Now that'll vary by different regions of the country. And they map out basically how the solar cost is coming down like this, utility rates are going up like this, and where that cross point occurs. It's already occurring in parts of California, a little bit now in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and other small spots. But if you go out 2-3 years, they cross in many more states because your cost of system prices are going down and your electricity prices are coming up. And then the third variable, which we don't have yet available at the residential level, is a way to finance the solar installation. The way you and I might go to a car dealership and buy a car, you know, you just sign some papers, you can buy it on a loan. A commercial company like Walmart can install solar on their rooftops because they can get 20, 25-year financing. There's a system set up to do that. There's now just beginning people to look at how can we do that on a residential basis. Unfortunately, with the credit crisis right now, people are a bit distracted, kind of trying to protect what they have out there as opposed to coming up with innovative products. But
okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Luckey, as you mentioned in your testimony, the most recent tax extender bill that was voted on, at least in the House, did not include the $2,000 tax credit for new homes achieving the 50% energy savings that was granted in the Energy Policy Act of 2005. Could you tell us if there were any reasons that were given to your organization by the bill authors as to why that particular provision was not included? Did you get any feedback or anything on that?
You know, I didn't. I'm not very familiar with that bill. We haven't, at least in the Cincinnati area, been able to, in the past, you know, it's to work with that energy code. It's $8,000 to $10,000 on the builder, and at least in the Cincinnati area, it hasn't been beneficial. So I'm not very familiar with that. NHB would probably be able to help you with that.
But it is your opinion that including that would be very important?
Absolutely, because it only help with, especially a small business owner like myself.
Right. As the other tax incentives that were mentioned here today, these are all important to the various industries that we've talked about.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And then finally, Mr. Tyndall, with the recent run-up in gas prices and they're over $1, you know, a gallon, as we all know now. Relative to, and I know with your industry, the plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, you have a lot of vans and trucks that are out there traveling all over the place. What impact is that having on the bottom line in your industry, if you know?
Well, our gas prices for my company are up 50%, and that's with combining crews. You know, we're trying to take some measures to offset that problem. It is a significant problem. Combine that with commodity prices going up too, and you know, we've been hit from basically every sector. We've got the fuel problem, we've got commodity prices going up. DuPont recently announced a 20% increase. A lot of what we deal with is products that are produced with DuPont products in them. So it has been a significant problem, and we're forced I'm forced as a company to increase our prices because to offset that charge. I mean, there's no other way around it.
Right. And if I could conclude just by a quick comment, and I'd ask for the panel to acknowledge, you know, even if we're using wind to provide more energy or solar for more buildings, et cetera, The fact is, with your businesses, I'm sure you have vehicles and personal vehicles that are still getting around. So even if this is part of the problem, we still face the problem of not sufficient energy supply relative to oil and to put in our cars at this point, and that's something that needs to be dealt with seriously as well. Does anyone disagree with that statement? Mr. Weston?
Well, not disagree, but I would certainly point out that there are connections between the electrical world and the fuel world, and in particular, I might mention that a longtime oil man, T. Boone Pickens, launched a campaign earlier this week promoting wind and other renewables with the notion that the percentage of the electricity now generated by natural gas, which is, I think, 22%, could be provided by renewables, and that natural gas used to displace oil in vehicles. In other words, powered vehicles right now, technologies there by natural gas. There's a pretty big change from a long-time oil man. He's saying what we need to do is just expand approach efficiency, use the natural gas, and instead, and that could do of our oil, which is pretty substantial. Mostly, that's as much as we Middle East right and Venezuela combined. Also gives time plug-in hybrids to develop, and that's auto technology where you're using electricity instead of oil. So these worlds can connect.
It's my understanding that Mr. Pickens has invested a pretty fair amount of money in the wind industry.
He's invested in wind and oil, and I imagine a lot of other things.
All right, I'm sure he has. Okay, well, thank you very much. I yield back my time.